Do you have anyone around you with a gummy smile, or perhaps that's you? In physiognomy, people who show their gums when they smile are often described as having an honest and active personality. They tend to be very sociable. While physiognomy isn't a hard science, if there's someone you want to befriend who has such a smile, don't hesitate to approach them first. You might find it easier to become friends with them than with anyone else. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. Physiognomy isn't about absolute truths. It should be seen as a language of probabilities. When I first encountered physiognomy, I was genuinely confused. Even in books written by the same Korean author, one would say a mole around the mouth is good, while another would say it's better without one. So I didn't rely solely on Korean materials. I researched physiognomy data from China, Japan, and even India. Surprisingly, they each had their own variations. Some interpretations matched, while others were contradictory. I believe these differences arise because each master recorded their own methods and experiences. So I made a decision to gather, analyse and organise the largest possible number of physiognomy cases, regardless of nationality or era. I especially focused on the facial changes of celebrities, observing their features during their times of success versus their periods of decline, their expressions, the look in their eyes, the turn of their lips. The differences were subtle, but definitely perceptible. Physiognomy is not a tool that determines the future, but if viewed from a probabilistic perspective, it can help you cultivate a sense for reading the movements of people in the world. In this video, we will cover the physiognomy of the mouth. Before we start, take a look at your own mouth in a small mirror or take a quick selfie. Or you can just picture the mouth of a family member or your closest colleague. The important thing is not to think in terms of a certain mouth is good or bad, but rather to understand that a certain shape has its advantages and points to be mindful of. People with large mouths tend to be bold, active, and have strong drive, as well as being expressive with their affection. On the other hand, those with smaller mouths have a higher probability of being relatively passive and cautious. Their physique may also tend to be smaller, but this does not mean they are unhealthy or have a shorter lifespan. Now, let's look at the thickness of the lips. Classical physiognomy texts state, those with thin lips are selfish. Very definitive, isn't it? Some of you might even feel resistant to that, thinking, that's not me. However, the conclusion I've drawn from various data is a bit different. Rather than being selfish, these individuals have a strong tendency to have a distinct world of their own and prioritise logic over emotion. That's why they can sometimes seem less adept at reading others' emotions. If your friend has thin lips, it might not be that they don't care for you. They may simply be less skilled at expressing their affection. If you have a friend with thin lips, it would be good to know in advance that they might be clumsy with emotional expression, so you can be more considerate in understanding their heart, right? Conversely, people with thick lips are often affectionate, have strong appetites for both food and pleasure, are very accepting of others, and are open-hearted, giving them a higher probability of having better interpersonal relationships than those with thin lips. In fact, in Western psychology, full lips are recognised as a sign of health and youth, and studies show they unconsciously give a positive and open impression to others. It's an interesting point where Eastern and Western perspectives align, especially lips that are full on both top and bottom are interpreted as a style that is faithful and trustworthy in affection. The difference between the upper and lower lip is also interesting. If the upper lip is thicker and the lower lip is thinner, they may be a type accustomed to giving love. Conversely, if the upper lip is thin and the lower lip is thick, they may have a tendency to be self-focused and crave receiving love. In this case, it can be seen not just as an issue of affection, but as a characteristic of their self-expression style. Do you know people whose mouths protrude forward? These individuals have a very strong sense of self-assertion. They have a distinct tendency to want to appeal to others or be the centre of attention. They feel uncomfortable if the focus isn't on them and have a high probability of having a strong desire to reveal their presence through speech. For these individuals, a career that involves a lot of self-expression and speaking, like a celebrity, lecturer, or YouTuber, might be suitable. Conversely, they are likely to feel stressed in an environment where self-expression is limited. What kind of mouth do you have? Take a close look at the mouths of your closest friends, family, or colleagues. As I always emphasize, it's important to approach physiognomy probabilistically. When meeting new people, especially in an interview or for an important first impression, the shape and movement of the mouth give away a surprising amount of information. In fact, when I conduct interviews, I often observe the person's way of speaking, the muscle movements around their mouth, and the shape of their lips to predict their disposition and communication style to some extent. As a result of analysing the physiognomy data I've collected and organised, I found that interpretations of the mouth tend to align with a high probability, regardless of east or west. In conclusion, the lips are the part of the face most closely related to self-expression. And in traditional physiognomy, they are sometimes interpreted as a sign of one's fortune in later years. The shape and movement of the lips allow for deep insight into personality, relationships, and the flow of life. While it might feel unfamiliar to change your impression through makeup, you can see a great effect just by applying lip makeup in a way that makes the corners of your mouth appear lifted. After applying your lip colour, check your impression in the mirror and ask your closest friend what they think. How others see you is more important than how you see yourself. Your lips are the gateway through which your words and heart go out into the world. How you tend to this gateway can change your later years and your world.